This jerking people around is not the way we ought to be conducting ourselves.
Hey everybody, welcome to Over 50 TV, where we serve up the latest work and money news for people over 50. My name is Lou Reyes. So the big question is, can we expect a new deal for a stimulus bill by this Friday, as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seemed to indicate last night when she spoke to Judy Woodruff, the anchor and managing editor of PBS NewsHour.
But bottom line, are you saying there could be a deal reached this week, legislation passed next week?
I hope so. That would be the plan. Yes. In other words, our differences are, again, in our value systems.
Well, both sides, they're still far apart, particularly when it comes to extending the $600 per week enhanced unemployment benefit. Pelosi, she wants to extend the benefit through January, while Republicans are proposing an immediate cut to $200 and then replacing that benefit with a complicated system that would provide 70% of a worker's replacement wage. But you know that, don't you? The good thing is they're continuing to meet, and if anything, that alone is reason for optimism that a deal will be reached soon. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, he said Tuesday's get-together with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, what he said was, and I'll quote, he said it was probably the most productive meeting we've had to date. Mnuchin, he commented, he said the two sides, they set a goal of reaching an agreement by the end of the week, and if they do that, it'll permit them to have a House vote next week. With Congress's summer recess coming up this Friday, it's not likely these folks are going home empty-handed. Republican Senator John Crone, who's running for re-election in a very tight race, he says, how do you think it looks for us to be back home when this is unresolved? This, he says, is the most important thing we need to be doing. John, I'm glad you agree. Other areas lawmakers agree. They include another round of $1,200 direct payments and changes to the Paycheck Protection Program to permit especially hard-hit businesses to obtain another loan under generous forgiveness terms. Now, it's also likely there'll be an increase in the food stamp benefit. That is a top priority of Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats. Of negotiations, according to Chuck Schumer, he says, we really went down issue by issue by issue. He says they slogged through. They made some concessions, which we appreciated, to quote him, and we made some concessions, which they appreciated. But he admits we're still far apart on a lot of the important issues, but we're continuing. Schumer's assessment, it doesn't begin to describe how Nancy Pelosi feels about how far apart they still are. Here's what she told Judy Woodruff during their interview last night.
Their piecemeal, meager approach that doesn't even recognize the gravity of the situation. If they had recognized it, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in.
Make no mistake about it, my friends. The president and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, they know they've got to make a deal soon. Americans are increasingly frustrated and they've lost patience with their elected officials. They're tired of the foot dragging.
This jerking people around is not the way we ought to be conducting ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better, Representative James Clyburn. Americans are tired of being jerked around. Well, negotiations at the nation's capital, they're changing by the minute. So what I'll do is I'll keep you updated as often as possible. That's all I've got for you today, folks. Other than what I will do is I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to Over 50 TV. On this channel, we serve up the latest news about work and money for people over 50. So, as I always say, have a great day, everybody.